Bro, I was 4 of 4. You think I'm not shooting that? Come on now. Film don't lie.
I'm here in Madison hanging out with one of the best shooters in the Big Ten, Brevin Pritzl.
Head fake, deep three, Pritzl with a shot clock, winding down. Brevin Pritzl, 4 for 4 from 3.
You come a long way from that brace-faced kid in a De Pere jersey. When you think about your journey from then to your senior year now, what comes to mind?
A lot of patience. I think the biggest thing was I had to relearn how to play the game because, in high school, things are a certain way. The ball's kind of always in your hands, always going towards you. Then in college, it becomes a much more, I don't want to say team-oriented game because basketball's always team-oriented, but it's more of a sum of the parts than the sole skills of one individual.
Since we talked a little bit about your high school days, I figured I'd show you some old clips. And here's you, young Brevin, over 2 defenders, and then showing off the range. When you look at some of these old highlights, what comes to mind?
Really bad shot selection, a lot of forcing the actions, like right there, that probably should have been a charge. Look back at them, let them know.
Now most people know you as Brevin the shooter, but I think a lot of people forget about Brevin the high flyer.
Here for the Terrapins to take the lead. Pritzl! Where'd that come from? I don't know, but the fans love it. Brevin, I didn't know you had that kind of bounce.
Who's expecting a freshman that's played maybe 7 minutes all year to come in and try to make game-changing impacts? And I just did my job, hustled around that game, and ended up, with some surprise bunnies right there.
Is there any other shooters or players that you modeled your game after?
Probably in the most recent years is watching Clay.
Clay corner 3, 60 for Clay Thompson.
Because Clay's my favorite player, and he does pretty much everything he does scoring is without the ball. And I think that's really different in the game these days, is the game is played a lot of times, players ball in their hand, trying to do some cool moves to try and get to a shot, whereas in my eyes, that takes a lot more effort than, if I can make you take a bad route on a screen, I pop off, I hit a 3.
Looking at some of your highlights on the year, this one might be one of your biggest shots. On the road, late in the second half, your team needs a bucket. Walk me through this play.
Brad does a great job of essentially wiping out 2 guys on his cut, and then Nate is able to get enough of a little hit on Washington to allow me to get enough space to hit that shot. Watching it back again and see it executed so well is, it's really refreshing to see.
Want to show me how you do it on the court?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Somebody who gets a lot of their points coming off of screens, what tips do you have?
The biggest thing is you got to get your feet set. Before you even think about shooting, you have to make sure your feet are in the correct position, because if your feet are out of whack, everything off the chain is going to be out of whack. So that's the biggest thing, is you have to be able to get your feet down fast in order to get your shot off.
So you talked about how important footwork is. Some people like to use the 1-2 step, others like to use a hop. You seem to do both. Which one do you like to usually do?
Depending on what kind of angle the screen's at or what kind of route I'm taking, I may hop or I may 1-2, but most of the time it's kind of a subconscious click and then be able to get your shot off.
All right, let's see it. Brevin Pritzl, one of the best shooters in the country.
Film don't lie.